This is a weird thing. But anyone who lives here that is aware of it would be able to back me up on it. But here on Kalakaua, if you're on that side of the street, right, there's much less nonsense, no bullshit, no street mutants, no fucked up people, none of that shit goes on over on that side. This side is where all the bullshit is. It's where all the nonsense is, the nonsense people, street mutants, crimes. It doesn't happen over there. And it's broken window theory, I believe. What broken window theory is, basically, is if people see a building with a broken window, they assume that it's okay to kind of shit it up. Like it's okay to fuck around there, to be assholes there. Someone used the example of, which I don't think is very good, but I'm not even going to use that example because it would just muddy the waters, but yeah, it's basically if an area looks like it's kind of shitty, then people are more prone to engage in shitty behavior. Over there, right, very well lit, okay, high-end stores, and all those places have dudes working there, like security, you know, guys in suits or like serious security people who don't fuck around. So it's like, so they stay away from them. Hey, God bless you.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah. So they stay away from there. Now, on the other hand, this side is where the bullshit is. This is Stinky Beach up here. I'm gonna not walk right by it. I'm gonna walk by it, but not like right against it. What I gotta do is just ignore. If they touch me, then it escalates to something else. But if they just sit there and heckle, that's fine. It's moving to another, moving to the next stage that you have to worry about. So somebody that college was telling me that they are doing that extradition thing. So if someone is caught here that doesn't belong here, as far as some of these street mutants, they're sending them back to the mainland. And he was mentioning something about a lot of pedophiles coming here, because once they're here, I guess they won't ship them back to their home state or something. I have to read that again. But it's something like that. So that's why, like, a lot of bad people end up coming here, because they're too shady to pull together a passport. So this is as far out of the country as they can get. But yeah, I guess they've been sending them back, which is good, because you would think that would be like number one priority here. This place, Hawaii, the only thing they have to generate money is tourism. That's it. There is nothing else. So you think they would want to protect that as much as they can, and by protecting that, not letting these fucking street mutants run around and dictate policy. And they have been for a while, you know, for a long while. You know, people just here to try to have vacation or whatever. They're with their families. You know, they don't need some guy on ice with his pants down throwing shit at them. And we don't, I mean, you know, I think we said all we need to say about the policing situation. We know that it's non-existent, and we know the reasons for that. I think we know. But, yeah, good. They need to to put more funding into that send them back process, because like my fucking patience with them has completely run out. You know, it's a different group. It's a different group. I'm not just like, this isn't something in my head. Before the lockdowns, when I first moved here, I knew plenty of homeless guys, and there was and even though there was way more homeless here back then, you know, they'd be sleeping all over the place when I first moved here in 2016. But all over. They had just little tents or port set up. It was way more chill. There wasn't the insanity that goes on here with these newer people. They were more like a community. Kind of everybody knew who everybody else was. And yeah, there were some problem people, but they all knew who they were and they'd avoid them. And as much as there would be theft going on among them, they would also help each other out a lot. You know, a few of the guys I'd hang around with were very generous, and they didn't have anything, and they'd share what they had. And it was really illuminating, man, because we don't have that, or we didn't at the time up in the Northeast, that kind of homelessness. So I was completely shocked by it. But to get to have some of those guys be in my friend circles, I learned a lot of stuff. I learned a lot about human behavior and sometimes why people are in the situations that they're in. A lot of the guys that I hung around with and knew, they were little, 40s, 50s. There weren't that many young guys at this point. And they used to talk about like the young guys being the assholes and like ruining it for everybody. And the young guys would kind of stay together in their own kind of little crews. And they're always the most rowdy and the dumbest, and but they weren't a problem. The regular guys that I knew that had been out here for years and years, their story would go something like this. They came out here, they did have a place, they did have a life, they did have a job. Something happened, they got knocked out of their situation, and it seems like when they get out here, there's a lot of drug use, and then they would get involved in drugs, and then it just would keep them here. And but what happens, I guess, is like it happens slowly. It's a frog boiling in the water thing where, all right, I'm out here, I'm just going to be out here for a certain amount of time, something like that. And I've even had some of the guys tell me this, like, you start to accept other things, like, not having things or having a certain appearance or things that you might not accept about yourself before. You start to kind of say, well, okay, I don't need this, or I could do with this or without this, until it gets to a point where you're like, street mutant level, from being just a normal, regular person, well, or whatever, a person, that's not a street mutant. You transform. The drug use comes along with it, and then it keeps you in a perpetual situation where you can't get out of it. And there's services there, and a lot of the guys I knew would use the services to some extent. There would be these people that would come around with clipboards, and they had the different guys' information, and they'd keep up with them. And some of them even knew them by name. But there were always a contingent of guys that would run from the clipboard people. Like, they didn't want anything to do with it. Because I think there's like this psychological thing, theorizing, that has to do with like not wanting any responsibility. Like, some of them wouldn't even take like a PO box, because they felt like that was too much kind of pressure for them, And then once you're, like I said earlier, you're out there, you start using drugs because it's just part of the coping mechanism. A lot of them needed just to stay awake, especially here. It's like, sleeping during the day would be optimal. for them because at night a lot of nonsense went on. You know, thievery, the guys getting rolled for stuff. So it was optimal to stay up during the night and then like sleep on the beach during the day. So they would use amphetamines, you know, meth, or sometimes crack. Some of them were into crack, but those guys are always more hanging down in Chinatown type characters. But meth is a normal, everyday. It's not just used by street people. It's used by a lot of just regular working people, people you'd never imagine, because it's so expensive here to live. Some people have to have 2-3 jobs to feed their families. Like, I've met plenty of people. I remember going downtown with one of my friends. He went to see I don't want to say exactly what this guy did, but he had an office in one of the big buildings downtown, like where the doctors are. And he had this little coal wood box that he pulled out on his desk, and it had a pipe in it. And he starts just smoking right there during the day. No one said anything. He asked us if we wanted one, and we're both like, no, because my friend and I both didn't do it. And when we left, I'm like, dude, what the fuck was that? He's like, oh, that's normal, you know? And I talked to other people that kind of told me the same thing. Like, yeah, everyone uses it because it keeps you going, you know? So there's a stigma attached to it, or there was anyway. I think it's probably changing now, that it was like just a street mutant thing, but it's wormed its way into regular kind of normie life in the same way the opioid crisis has as well in a lot of North America and other places as well, due to the pressures of the world and the demands of the world. You know, you see the proliferation of this stuff as the world demands you dig more gold, you know, to survive, to keep your family fed. It's fucking madness. This is a crazy, crazy world. So anyway, even if you weren't mentally ill and a drug addict, spend a little bit of time on the street and you start going towards that. You know, you start going towards that. These new guys out of here are already there. You know, like, we used to see the slow decline of people, or, you know, they'd point out guys who have declined over the years. Some of those guys, I mean, were up there 30, 40 years, like their whole lives. I think of this one guy, my friend Dale. I haven't seen him in a while either. Dale was cool. He didn't mess with anybody. A lot of these guys I'm talking about, they wouldn't sit around and heckle tourists. The only time they would interact with tourists is they would sometimes make a sign saying hungry or something, and they'd stand up and they'd fly signs out in front of McDonald's or something. But they had no interest in harassing the tourists or harassing anybody. You know, they're all gone. Those guys all seem to be gone. And they've been replaced with their shitheads. Yeah, my friend Dale, he was an older guy. He had some funny stories. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to get into any of them, but he was here pretty much his whole life. And he used to walk around here and just, he'd collect cans, he'd collect stuff that tourists would leave behind, and then he'd resell them, you know, on the street. Like, he'd find watches and resell them. He never bothered anybody. There's a lot of guys like that. They just keep to themselves. This new breed of street mutant, it seems like their whole point is here to just fucking harass people, get in people's faces, rob. It's like, it's a whole different ballgame. The guys like that used to be a small group that everyone kind of knew and be like, oh, those new kids or shitheads. They'd try to come and start fights with people to try to, you know, to show that they're bad because they're new in the area, so they want to kind of assert dominance. And they never did, you know what I mean? People just laugh at them. But it seems to be that's all there is now. They're all like aggressive. They're all young. You don't see, at least I don't, any of like those older guys in their 40s and 50s, and that used to kind of be the norm. So yeah, I mean, I hope that program is working, because it's gonna hurt. I mean, it already is hurting the area, but they have to protect this thing because it's the only way. It's the only money, income generating thing about Hawaii. They used to have their own stuff. It was taken from them. They used to have the ability to, they used to have coffee plantations, and they used to do sugar. They used to do pineapples. That was all taken. It's almost like they wanted them dependent just on tourism, because they can control the tourism. You know, if they shut the airport down, then no money comes in. You know, that's why during the thing, the deadly thing, I think the airport was closed like for 2 weeks. And that was like a big red flag to a lot of people. Like, oh, hey, wait a minute, if this thing is so deadly, right? Why are there still thousands of people coming in and out? I don't know, whatever. I can't get wrapped up in that. We all know that's retarded. If you don't by now, then, well, you're probably not here. So, yeah, I'll be heading out there again later. I'll do a little bit more demon spotting, cop spotting, street mutant spotting, the whole deal. Don't blame the teacher, blame the school.